Hello and welcome to my video for painting my Mystic Timbers coaster cutout. I'm sure you see that it's already painted right here. Well, I did that when I did the basic assembly. Yeah, let's not make this intro super long. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. I'm just gonna show you what all the supplies that you might need are. Some of these are just optional. They're just things that I would recommend using that I have found to be very helpful. I work with acrylic paints, so some things that are super helpful are a cup for your water. Now this I use for nail art, so don't question this. Another thing that you're gonna definitely need is a paper towel. And don't forget, this is an optional one, but I find this super useful just to have this little paint tray. You can see this used one from when I worked on Manta. Yeah, it's great for mixing, making sure you have enough. Yeah, it's just fantastic. And they are super cheap. I got a 6-pack at Hobby Lobby. That is where I get a bulk of my supplies these days. So if you are looking to purchase some of the same paints or brushes or this, just go to Hobby Lobby, I am telling you. Now this one might be a little bit lesser heard of, but I'm painting on this wooden desk, which, I mean, it's seen better days. You can see remnants from when I did not protect the desk. A paper towel works just fine for this, but as a nail artist, I have this. This is a silicone mat. They're about like $10 or so, and if you want to do lots of these projects and have very little cleanup, I highly recommend this. This would be the not clean remnants of when I painted Thunderbird. Meet my assortment of paintbrushes. Most of these are from Hobby Lobby, and you can see I went a little bit overboard with microscopic brushes like this. I really like to paint on a very small scale, especially because I do like to paint on my nails, and as you can see, this is the perfect size for some really fine details. So I also use this for my nails. But most of these are from Hobby Lobby. Life hack, this brush is not going to be found anywhere near the acrylic like hobby painting. This is going to be more in like the serious painting area. I don't know. That's how best I can describe it. But this is just a mix of tons of random brushes that I have acquired. I'm sure this is the part that you're the most interested in. This is going to be the actual paints that I'm going to be using. So, I'll just go on and start with the wheels because you're about to watch that footage, and this is the paints I got out. So, we got Mars Black, Silver, and Metallic White. These are all Artist's Loft, which I think are from Michaels, if I know correctly. These were a gift, but that'll be the wheels. For the body of the train, we are going to be using this beautiful matte minted aqua from Folk Art. I really like these paints. Then to supplement that, we are going to be using burnt sienna, silver, Mars Black, and classic French gray. Again, I really like this brand. The restraints and seats are entirely going to be Mars Black. Hello, I know this is different. I'm very sorry. I didn't end up using the paints I thought I would, so I'm having to refilm this, but this is like a year in the future. I have a new desk, and yeah, so I'm editing right now. So, the paints that I actually ended up using for the stand, we have this Folk Art Hunter Green. I actually really ended up liking that one. This Hauser Light Green from Deco Art is going to be the paint that I used for the lettering, as well as this Honey Brown, which again, it was used for the lettering, and then the tree. We've got this blue light here, which I keep having issues with this paint. I don't know if this is just a bad one or what, but I'm having some very bad luck with this. Then we've got our Mars Black, which we've been using consistently throughout most of my projects, as well as this gigantic titanium white because the one that I had in this set ran out. So yeah, sorry for this little interlude, but we're back to the original part of the video. We're starting off strong here by working on painting the wheel assemblies. Now, I would like to highlight that unfortunately there is no assembly video because my phone had a glitch where it just was not saving several video files. I don't know why. I tried my best, but that video is pretty much unusable. However, I was able to salvage this one from that. So this is preceding my real painting. Alright, I thought I would point out just a couple of things real quick. So first off, I just realized that these pieces have been painted the wrong color. So I'm gonna go on and redo these. This is supposed to be entirely silver, and this part just that juts out here is also supposed to be silver to go with that. So, oops. And then I also wanted to point out a couple of small differences that I noticed. So this is the lead car, this is the front, and you'll notice that I painted this nice, what is this one? Burnt sienna right here, but black here, because I noticed for some reason that while it's entirely wood colored, I believe the real wood they used is mahogany, but there's a black plate over it on the front, so that's interesting. I hadn't noticed that one before. I also went pretty detailed and did the actual like wood overlay, I guess you could call it. Not like anyone's really gonna notice that level of detail, but this is how we roll over here. So ignore my hair tie mark. So yeah, we're gonna go through and fix that before we continue on. Taking a quick pause here in the time lapse just to say this part here is not going to be visible, so once it's assembled. This I did primarily as a test to see how the paint looked on wood, because as you saw, I opened it, it's a brand new paint. I tried a lot harder on here, and I'm trying to pre-paint some of these edges here just to make that easier once I get it together. Look-wise, some of them I'm not doing because I think, yeah, this is going to end up being a different color right here. But yeah, there's definitely going to, I think, be some disassembly coming up, but we'll see. Just, you know, take apart whatever you have to take apart to get it done. I know this is different. I am so sorry. There is something really weird going on with my phone. Comment below if you want me to upload what I have, but I did actually try filming the assembling video, but my phone for some reason kept like not saving the footage. Like it would say it was filming and then I would do a bunch of stuff and then it turned out that it wasn't filming, and I just had that problem again. It hasn't recurred at all since assembly, but I do really apologize for that. But I just painted these pieces here. This is the underside of the hood. I just painted that just in case any of it showed. This is the back side of these little guys, these little details. Here's the hood. Here's like this weird underpiece thing. And then this is the headlight thing. I am so sorry. I keep checking while I'm painting to make sure that it is actually recording, but clearly that isn't. Yeah, I think that there's like a software glitch or something, but I am so sorry. I finished painting the pieces for the front third of of the car, so now we're actually gonna go ahead and get that assembled, because that way when we go in to actually detail all of those kind of rust looking things, we are gonna have it all put together to really see how it looks, and then we're gonna go on and get the base color on the seating area and do that same process. I realized that time lapse was probably just a bit too fast and I should have broken that up. I'm sorry. So let me go over what I am doing really fast because that's too much for a voiceover. So I put everything together obviously, and I went in and I found any spots of the connections, for example, like right here, that you could see the wood. The idea is we're not going to be seeing any of the wood once this is done. I forgot something. These wheels here have been definitely a challenge to get assembled. So I ended up taking this off of this base here just because that's the order what it's done in the instructions, because the wheels get attached right here. So yeah, I realized that you probably should paint the back of the hood as well as the front, which I'm really glad that I did the front underside, but you also need to do a little bit of the back underside because of the angling of these pieces. So I was just going through and finding things like that, any patching that I need to do in order to be totally satisfied with how this looks. And here in normal motion, I guess, I'll go ahead and put together one of the main wheel sets, I guess you could call it. This is probably the most efficient way to do it. So, wheel, wheel. Once we get to this, the most efficient way to do it is going to be to start with this. It's going to go in right there, and I'm not going to fully assemble it. I'm just showing you what I'm doing. And then you're going to slide one of these guys in, and it'll line up right in there. These guys are tricky, and they go right here. It's hard to with the layers of paint. And then you top it off with one of these guys. So that is how the wheels get assembled, and that's the easiest way to do it if you're doing this in the order that I am, if that makes any sense. So now we can go on and get started on the base color for the seating portion of the lead car. I would like to apologize for how strange that this looks. The time-lapse filmed incredibly quickly here for some reason, so I slowed it down, which means that the frame rate of this particular clip is abysmal, but you can see what I'm doing better. Right here, I'm using the edge of my desk to help get some really stubborn pieces in. That's a really helpful tip in any coaster cutout assembly. Now all that we're doing here is filling in a couple of spots that were bare from not painting it until we assembled it. We don't want to have any bare spots. I took a couple months off of working on this project. I was pretty apprehensive of painting the rust here, but as you can see, it was easy. It was no big deal because rust doesn't have to look perfect. So this is after like 3 months of not painting this. I was just letting it sit, and now we're back into it. Quick intermission here. I wanted to say, by the way, that trying to make it look rusted was probably one of the parts I was the most nervous about doing, but I found that it was actually really simple. All I did is I kind of went for more of a technique called a dry brush. I just put as little paint on the brush as possible, make it almost to where there's barely any paint on it, and that way you can get a good, like, transparent, smudgy kind of look, which is what I was aiming for with this. You know, I'm not perfect, but I really do like how this is turning out, actually. It was tricky finding reference images for this, but based on what I found, you don't really have to do the back at all here, just a couple tiny little accents that continue over from the sides. Pretty simple, actually. You don't really have to do the inside of it. It's not really much of anything going on this part, so not a whole ton to have to do. So really, I'm quite pleased with that. So now it's time to go ahead and get this train fully assembled and then paint the stand. It took me months to figure out what color that I actually wanted to paint this stand. I don't know why it was so difficult, but I am a bit of a perfectionist, so I wanted to make sure that I was absolutely in love with it. So during that multi-month long break that I took, a lot of time was spent just thinking and trying to figure out what color I actually wanted the stand to be. It helps to dilute the paint with some water a little bit to get the colors to blend together better. I found that that's one of the easiest ways to get a nice gradient like this. I much prefer to use paint absolutely everywhere when I do these projects. I don't like to have anything that's not paint. However, to get this intricate of a design, I didn't really have a choice without there being anything pre-etched into the wood. So I took out my pencil and did this rough sketch, which I do later go to modify as I paint it. This was just a rough outline so that I could get started with the actual paint. Don't be afraid to use a little bit of wood glue to get those stubborn parts to go together. I was going to try and mix a brown paint but failed miserably, so that's why there's 2 pre-painted letters. I also needed that brown for the tree, which is why I kind of paused from painting that brown real quick. And then again, I am diluting that paint right here. I'm using a little bit of water and then also making sure that there's not a lot of paint on the brush. It's kind of called a dry brush technique. And that again just helps with that blending. It really took me this long to realize that my phone can actually use the 3x zoom camera whenever I'm actually painting in a time lapse. That is new, but not that new. Like I mentioned earlier, I did tweak this design as I was painting it. You can see right there that I decided I didn't like where that branch had ended up. So I changed it because the nice thing is that we're using a nice dark colored base, so I'm able to do this. absolutely despise this blue paint. It is terrible. The texture is just bad for some reason. The opacity is really bad. I've had to use this on multiple of my projects, and I really need to replace it with a better color of this. So, I don't know what's wrong with this one. It could just be a bad one individually, but I hate this paint, and I thought I would mention it. I am yet again now using that dry brush and water dilution technique. I'm not exactly a professional painter, so this is just what works for me. Again, not a professional technique. This project has taken me months. I took a pause during the middle of working on it for a couple months, and it's just been sitting. So it's really glad to finally have this done. I know this isn't a vlog, but I hope that you enjoyed this tutorial. I hope it was useful, or I hope you at least enjoyed just watching me paint this. I honestly have to admit, this is probably one of the ones I'm the most proud of that I've painted so far, because the train itself, it looks just fine, but what I did here on the stand is just something truly quite impressive. I know I noted it earlier, but I did end up having to use a little bit of wood glue on it, but that is fine. It was tricky to find reference images for this green train, by the way. It would be a lot easier if you wanted to do the blue. It looked like also the rust pattern across the trains was all different. So that's something to take note of. I had a hard time, but I did try and find pictures of every angle. There's not as much rust detailing as I kind of thought there was. Like, this green train doesn't have a whole ton, but you know, it looks really good. So I don't want to make this too long. This turned out really well. So if you enjoyed this, please make sure that you like it. Check out some of my other painting videos. I have an entire playlist of them. Subscribe if you want to see some more from me. Share it if you think anyone else would be interested. And I'll see you all around at the parks. Bye!